I made sure to take my mom to go see it. I made sure to make my girlfriend watch it. I bought it on Blu-ray, watched it again, and now it's on Netflix, and I decided to fire it up and watch it for a fifth time, and I gotta say, this movie still holds up. Full disclosure, I have actually already seen this movie 4 other times. One of those times was at the actual Sundance Film Festival. I had a chance to go see it and talk to the director, Rick Famuyiwa, about how much I adored this movie. And when it came out in theaters, I made sure to take my mom to go see it. I made sure to make my girlfriend watch it. I bought it on Blu-ray, watched it again, and now it's on Netflix, and I decided to fire it up and watch it for a fifth time, and I gotta say, this movie still holds up. If anything, this movie is even better now than it was when I saw it 7 years ago. One of the things that I really didn't appreciate the first time I watched this film was the way that this story is told. This is a much more complex film than most coming of age, last high school party before college type of movies, because there's a subplot going on here that I think I probably honestly missed the first couple times I saw the movie, and it didn't really even click until I literally just watched it for the 5th time. And I'm even more impressed watching a movie like this now, because this was Rick Famuyiwa's, I think, 2nd feature film, and it was the first one that really got any sort of acclaim. Watching it now, 7 years after it came out, I'm honestly just like, man, this movie feels like it just kind of got buried. It's incredibly underrated. It's not talked about nearly enough for just how well done this film is and the style in which they're telling this story, which works because a lot of the story is told out of order while also being told chronologically, which is kind of confusing, but there are several points throughout this film where Rick is messing around with the order in which he's explaining what's going on in this story. And it's really unique in the sense that there are films that are purposefully out of order for the entirety of the movie. But a movie like this is essentially getting to certain points in the film and then rewinding and explaining what was going on in a certain scene that maybe didn't have enough context at the time. And it's just really unique. I also gotta say, Shameik Moore, when I first saw this movie, I was like, this is the next breakout star. This kid is going places. And I'm gonna be honest, I really don't know what happened. He was in a Netflix show called The Get Down. I know that got a couple of seasons and it was pretty popular, but to survive on Netflix these days, you gotta be crazy popular, or you have to bribe a bunch of the people in the Golden Globes to get 4 seasons. But ever since The Get Down, he did show up in Into the Spider-Verse, and he now voices Miles Morales, and he's gonna be doing that role for the next 2 Spider-Verse movies as well. But he hasn't really done too much on-screen acting, which is kind of a bummer, because going back and watching this film, Shameik Moore is immensely talented. It is crazy watching how good he was in this movie, as was Kiersey Clemons and Tony Revolori, 2 more people who I thought were going to become bigger names, and I don't really know what happened. Tony Revolori had a crazy run where he did Dope, he was in Grand Budapest, he was in a lot of stuff, and now he's kind of been relegated to Flash Thompson, which again, he's a great actor, really good in that role. But, seeing him as Flash Thompson, I'm just like, gee, this is it? This is what happened to this cast. It's such a great cast. Also, I don't know how Rick did it, but he got Forrest Whitaker to not only narrate the movie, but he was also one of the producers. He also got Pharrell to be one of the producers, and he has a ton of rappers in this film, some of which I knew about when I was going back to rewatch it. I also had no idea Vince Staples was in this movie. That's wild. I just rewatching it, and you're like, oh my gosh, there's so many people that I either forgot were in the movie or just did not notice them or really didn't place who they were the first time I saw it. It's also worth touching on the soundtrack for Dope is fantastic. It's a combination of songs that existed before the film, and then also the cast of the movie did live recordings for the soundtrack. A lot of the music in this film is from the 3 main characters, which is such a unique idea. And I actually bought the soundtrack to Dope, and it's so good, especially the songs that their fictional band actually has, which is fantastic. Another one of the things I really just did not appreciate the few times I saw this movie was just how many insane characters there are throughout a film like this, because so much of the movie is broken down into introducing a just zany character that maybe only has like 1 or 2 scenes in the entire film, but those interactions, which feel very much like what made a show like The Simpsons so popular, or just like having all of these wild characters, it just like adds so much to the movie, just like intercutting the story with these just crazy but unforgettable different characters who just have brief cameos throughout the film. I think when I go back to watch a movie like this, it's fun, but I'm also kind of just bummed out. I know that Dope is one of those movies that a lot of people just never saw, have never heard of, despite how well it's done. This movie is also shot really well. Just a lot of things that are done really well in this film, right? Like if you strip away the story and everything happening there, it's just a well-made movie. And I want well-made movies to do good. I definitely try to do my part with this movie, buying the DVD and taking my mom to the movies and buying the soundtrack, all that stuff. I think also it's just sort of disappointing to see that Rick hasn't really gotten another big chance, because when I went back and watched this movie, it was kind of surprising that somebody who made Dope didn't really get a shot yet at something even bigger. And I know originally he was supposed to be the director for Black Panther, and for whatever reason, he and Marvel went their separate ways. They brought in Ryan Coogler, and the rest is sort of history from there. And since then, Rick's, you know, he's popped up in different instances, but he's never had anything as massive as this film. And if you haven't seen it, it's absolutely worth checking out. It's finally back on Netflix, 100%. Go watch it. Go watch it 5 times, just like I did. And if you're one of the few people who actually saw Dope back, you know, several years ago when it first came out, let me know what you thought of it. And hopefully you guys enjoy it just as much as I did. Thanks for watching.